Hi, this is Catherine. This is Taking Tea with Catherine. This is blackberry raspberry tea from Taylor's of Harrogate, which is a lovely fruit tea. And it would be perfect to serve after a dinner party because it just would. And I have been tagged by Jennifer Brooks for the literary dinner party tag, which is created by Hannah's Books, Hannah at Hannah's Books. So there's two lovely ladies that I would love to have at a literary dinner party or any dinner party, but my ability to throw a dinner party is kind of limited. My apartment isn't the great shape for that sort of thing. You know, a few people over at most. So it's a little out of my comfort zone. I'm not much for cooking, so I'm out of my comfort zone today from where I'm at. But I'm also suspending disbelief because we're using our imagination here, and that's fine. I thought, I should take my time and do this and think of different answers, be creative, whatever. And what if I'm repeating other people's things? Because I've only seen Jennifer and Hannah's tags. And I'm like, oh, I could be repeating things. And I said, no matter how much time I spend on this, I'm going to come up with something later that I'm going to regret not saying. So I thought I'll just do it pretty quickly, right away. You know what? Why not? So let's get started. And the first question is, when you are at a dinner party, do you ask people what they are currently reading? If not, why not? Have you received any great recommendations at a dinner party for a new book to read or had an especially interesting bookish conversation there? The answer is probably not. I've been to a couple of book club related dinners, so maybe we were talking about books there, but I don't specifically remember any recommendations. And I have friends that I would go out to dinner with, one or two people, or have over, maybe, that are a bit bookish, that I would talk about books with. But otherwise, I find a lot of the people I would spend time at, at a dinner party would be not that into books or not very well into reading. And so I might just either talk their ear off about something, or it just doesn't happen very often. And that's okay. But yeah, it's not very often. Number 2, which authors, living or dead, would you invite to a dinner party? These invites can go out one at a time or in groups, so various authors would get to meet each other. So I have 2 different parties planned here. One of them is, I decided, I don't know if you read 84 Charing Cross Road. I did a video. I'll try to link it here, but I probably won't. She wrote 84 Charing Cross Road, but that was actually a collection of letters, so she wrote part of it, and then she wrote different memoirs afterwards. But it's a lovely collection of correspondence between herself and a bookshop, wherein she ordered books that she couldn't get easily where she lived, except from libraries, and she wanted to annotate, she wanted to do things with the books, but they were expensive. And so there was a wonderful correspondence for about 20 years, and about 20 years almost. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to invite Helene to a dinner party and have a number of her literary mentions over as well. So the first one I would have is Arthur Quiller Couch, because he's the one who she got a hold of his book of lectures, and he referred to many different writers, and so that got her started on her quest. And so he would have to be there. And other people that she mentioned and seemed to like was John Donne, Walter Savage Landor, who wrote like imaginary correspondence between people in history and characters. So he kind of had his own literary dinner parties. William Hazlitt, Leigh Hunt, John Henry Newman, and of course Samuel Pepys. I thought about inviting Jane Austen because I realized that we have too many males here, but I'm like, you know what? She's going to be invited to my next party, so she could come to both, because I would basically, in any imaginary party, I would have her. So, but I think Helene would enjoy this party. She wrote about different dinner parties that she threw and cooked for and whatever, but she might be a little shy, just being overwhelmed by all the people that she loved or liked. And so I might just use what limited outgoing abilities I have to start conversation. Maybe. And then I would have a party with the aforesaid Jane Austen, I would have Anne Bronte because I don't think Charlotte Bronte would appreciate being with Jane Austen, but Anne might. And I've just been reading about her, so I want her there. I would invite Anthony Trollope just because he wrote a lot of dinner conversations, and I think he would just be funny and just interesting. Agatha Christie, as long as she didn't bring anything to eat because she might poison it. She probably wouldn't poison it, but she just writes so much about poisoning, I'd be afraid. And also because of that Doctor Who episode where she was at a dinner. But anyway, yeah. Virginia Woolf I would have because I think she'd be an interesting conversationalist. I think she wrote about a lot of these people too, so she might want to pick their brain. And Oscar Wilde because, he would just be amazing at any party and the conversation would be fantastic. I would like to see what he'd wear also. And yeah, definitely Oscar Wilde. Maybe George Eliot because she was constantly left out of parties and dinner engagements because of her marital status or lack thereof. I don't know. And I'd probably have Jasper Fforde because he wrote also about a lot of these people in his Thursday Next novels, which is about someone who can jump into books and be in the book suddenly. And he wrote mostly about people in the classics, so he knew a thing or two about them, so he'd probably enjoy being there. And he's funny. And probably Lucy Worsley. She is a living historian, and she does those documentaries about mostly English history, but she's done other things too, French and maybe Russian, not sure. She would probably be fascinated being there, and she seems to be someone who, she wrote about Jane Austen at the very least, and she seems like someone who would be happy to be there and a great person to talk to. She just has that face that you can tell when she's enjoying herself, so I would like that. And I like the way she dresses too. Which I know is not the biggest deal, but it's kind of nice when people look nice at your party. I probably would be the least best dressed there. Number 3, which characters would you like to invite? I don't know where to begin, but I planned this party that is a little crazy, and I would have Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson because I'd have to have them. People think, oh, Sherlock Holmes is a bit rude, but you know what? There's a lot of parts in books where he was at parties and at dinners and out at restaurants, and he liked to eat when he was, in the right frame of mind. And if he was in the right frame of mind, that'd be a great time to have him over. I would probably have Arthur Bryant if he could keep his false teeth in from the Bryant and May mysteries, just because he had has, in the books he's still alive, I think, he has such a love for London and, stories of London past and other history bits. So I think he would have great conversation with Sherlock Holmes. Then I'd also have Lady Catherine de Bourgh from Pride and Prejudice, and because I think I would like to see her with the same people. I would like to see how what Sherlock Holmes would observe about her, just to see, I'd be curious about that. And of course I would invite Professor Moriarty, who is the big arch enemy of Sherlock Holmes, because I think he needs to lighten up. I think they just need to get to know each other better. And if not, he would also be able to square off with Lady Catherine de Bourgh, and they would make for interesting conversation. Off in the corner, I would have Anne Shirley from Anne of Green Gables and the rest of the Anne books, because I love her so much. And Catherine Morland from Northanger Abbey, because she is also someone who runs away with her imagination. And I think she and Anne could kind of go off in the corner and just talk and have a great time. And they would also probably find these, the other folks there interesting to watch, because they're both a bit dramatic. And I think her name is Minnie from The Help. I would invite her because I think she could use a day out. And I would ask her to bring her special chocolate pie, because if things got a little messed up, I would ask her to serve it to Lady Catherine or Moriarty, because they might just need it. You have to read this book to understand what I'm talking about, or see the movie. A lot more people probably saw the movie. Number 4, have you ever wanted to invite a historical figure after reading a biography or autobiography about that person, and who would it be? yeah, tons of people, and I don't know how to narrow it down, but first off, Eleanor of Aquitaine, who was first a Duchess of Aquitaine. Then she married the King, I think Louis of France, one of the Louis, and had some daughters with him, went on the Crusades with him. Then they separated. I guess it was either annulled or whatever it was back in those days, their marriage. And then she married Henry II of England, and they had a bunch of kids. And their offspring is on the throne, I think, to this day. And she just had so much of an adventurous life, so much to think about. And she was brave, but she was also a little bit of a troublemaker. So she'd be fascinating. She outlived most of her kids, and I think she lived to like 80. She would have stories. I mean, reading her biography is enough, but I really want to see what she looked like, and I just want to just see what she was like, up close. I would like to have Thomas Jefferson over because he was kind of a great conversationalist and very intelligent. I also kind of want to tell him off, and he could probably have some of that chocolate pie as well. And but I also would just think that he would have a lot to talk about and a lot to answer for. So that's a bit awkward. After reading Romantic Outlaws, I kind of want almost everybody in that book over to talk to, but that's been discussed enough. Artemisia Gentileschi, her story as a painter in what was it, the 17th century, I think? She was a contemporary of Galileo, so she went through so much, and she, you have to read her story. She accused someone of I think it was rape, and the trial was worse on her than anything else. I mean, the time period that she lived through, but she expressed herself so well through her paintings, and her paintings were beautiful. She also kind of worked with her father, and she had just a colorful story, and she just got through a lot, but she seemed to keep going. I just love her. I want to read one of her biographies again. I haven't read them in a while. And this is someone who lived, concurrently, what's the word? At the same time as I did for 15 years. So, I don't know. They're not necessarily a person from history, although some people, he is historical, I guess. But I had to include him because I have read his biographies, and I just want to meet him because, Freddie Mercury. I mean, come on. I named my cat after him, and I named another one after Jane Austen. So, obviously these are people who have to be at a party together. Together? No, maybe not together. Maybe together. We'll see. I'll mix them up. But yeah. And I think he had good taste in food. He liked, obviously, he seemed to enjoy food, but I think he also liked Indian food, so yeah, he did. And so that would be kind of a fun meal to share with him as well. Number 5, what would you serve at one of these parties, from questions 2 to 4? Or perhaps what would one of your literary guests bring if you hosted a potluck meal? Well, I'd probably just have a pizza party for a lot of people, because some of these people just need to be introduced to pizza. I mean, can you imagine how long people went in life without pizza? And it's just easy to order out. So that would be probably the easy way out. Or I might have like a roast dinner, because that's so cozy and just nice, and with enough vegetable items, vegetarian items, just in case someone was vegetarian. I'm sure someone there was. But that would be so good. I could have Helene Hanff bring the Yorkshire pudding, because she made Yorkshire pudding in the book, and the movie, and I love Yorkshire pudding. And Shirley could bring raspberry cordial. And is it Parmesan cheese that Peeps rescued from the fire? I think it was. So if I was having the pizza party with Samuel Pepys, I think I would have him bring the Parmesan cheese. But not like aged from his time, because that would be pretty bad for everybody involved. Number 6, what is your favorite meal scene in a book or a screen adaptation of a book? I mean, I love in Pride and Prejudice, either in the book itself or any adaptation really that I've seen, when Mr. Collins first visits the Bennets and they have dinner, and Mr. Bennet is asking him questions, and Mr. Collins is oblivious to the fact that he's being teased, and he's just so, talking about Lady Catherine de Bourgh constantly, my previous dinner guest. So that's always a great scene. If you've seen, because I haven't read the book, but if you've seen the movie Hunt for Red October, there is a scene where there's like the officers are having dinner and Sean Connery's eating, and I don't normally like to watch people eat, but the way he does it is, it's been probably 30 years since I've seen this movie, and it is, just look for it on YouTube. It's amazing. I don't know. I also want to recommend the book The Immortal Dinner by Penelope Hughes Hallett. I read it probably 10 years ago or so I gotta reread it. I've been looking for it for so long whenever I go to a bookshop, like, Book Off or whatever, and I haven't found it. Maybe one day. I could always check it out at the library again. But it talks about, so it's nonfiction, but it talks about an actual dinner that the painter, Benjamin Hayden, I think his name was, had. John Keats was invited. He also, I would hope to invite to any of my parties, if possible. Charles Lamb. Let's see who else. William Wordsworth. And I'm forgetting some people, I think. But it was just, the conversation was, recorded, apparently. And so the chapter just goes into the different conversations. And I think it talks about the food, too. But I don't think that's the important thing. It was really about the conversation. So, yes, that is a book I recommend. I hope to maybe mention it down below. Number 7, dinner parties aren't, this is true, the only times people share food and drink. Are there literary scenes you love where characters get together over brunch, afternoon tea, picnics, cocktail parties, etc.? I mean, anything, one of the things I love so much about British novels specifically, but also I guess some novels that take place in like Asia too, is tea, because tea is part of, important part of the it's an important part of the lives. Sorry, my cat was making noise. Important part of the lives of so many people, and so I love just reading about conversations and scenes over tea, no matter what. Going back to 84 Charing Cross Road, there's a scene in the movie, the adaptation, where because in the book, and this happened in real life, Helene found out that the rationing was really strict post-war England, and it hadn't been so bad in New York at this point. And she found a company from Denmark where she could order from a catalog and have kind of foods that were hard to obtain sent to them as a gift. And so in the movie, you see a part where everybody gets some of the food and they bring it home to their family, or they have it on their own or whatever. And it's just such a happy thought, finally I can eat this. It's been so long. One of the booksellers, one of the, employees goes home and he's living with his aunt or great aunt, I can't remember. And she looks all stern, like, I don't trust this kind of thing. And as soon as she eats it, she's just so happy. She looked like so much like my grandmother there. It was just such a great scene. So yeah, that made me happy. Elegance of the Hedgehog by Muriel Barbary, is that her name? Oh man, my brain isn't working. But there are some eating scenes, a lot of pastries and stuff like that, where the main character kind of secretly has a love for a lot of fine things in life, but she kind of hides that from the people in her apartment building. And so that was lovely. I'd like to invite her over. And why is her name escaping me? Everything. This is why I have to write things down. But anyway, the same writer wrote a book that was like not a sequel or prequel, but it was like a story within, where one of the characters who had died in the book was a food critic, and he has these memories of different meals that he had, which I should recommend, but I guess I got bored actually reading that one. But The Elegance of the Hedgehog was probably even better because it wasn't the entire book, but it was still great. See. Anything in the Anne of Green Gables series, there's so many wonderful meal scenes, cooking scenes, whatever. Even the awkward ones are great. And anything in The Lord of the Rings or The Hobbits that have any parts of the Hobbits sharing meals because they just enjoy eating so much. Elevenses, so many different meals. Just makes me happy. I'd eat like that if I could. Number 8. Name one of your favorite cringeworthy dinner party scenes in a book or adaptation. So I'm going to go a little off and use a TV scene. If you know the TV shows that I like and the one that I'm watching a lot lately, you will know where I'm going with this. The US version of The Office, there is an episode, I think it's called The Dinner Party, I think. And it is so cringy and it is hilarious. I've seen outtakes where the actors keep laughing, so because it was just too funny. It is very cringy but very funny. Yeah. Number 9. When the pandemic ends, what will you serve at your first dinner party or take to the first potluck you attend? I don't know because I wasn't big on throwing dinner parties. I'd probably, if I went to someone's dinner party, I'd bring wine because I'm kind of known for that. So I don't know. I'd probably just really end up just meeting up with 1 or 2 people out for a meal. Honestly, I don't know where I'd go. It doesn't matter. That's something I haven't done besides takeout since probably before March. So yeah, I mean, I could totally live without it, but it would be nice. All right. So the last question kind of is, which booktubers would you like to invite, i.e. tag, for this literary dinner party? And obviously in real life, there are a real big list of people I would invite to a dinner party. But these are the people I'm tagging, who I don't know if they've been tagged yet. The 2 lovely book zealots. So that's 2 people. Kate Howe and Marilyn Maya Mendoza. I will link their, I think, channels down below if I remember, because, I forget things sometimes. But anyway, I don't think I've seen them do this tag, so if they want to, go ahead. If you don't want to, that's fine too. But I'm sure you would all be very fascinating to have over for dinner, talking about books or food or anything, or life in general. So that's all for now. I will probably think of other things later, but I think that's enough, right? It's been over 20 minutes. So dinner party would be a lot longer though. So I hope you've enjoyed. I hope if you haven't been tagged, you don't have a channel, whatever, feel free also to either make a video or comment down below what you think, what your answers would be, favorite scenes, whatever, anything. I'm getting really hungry now, so I better start planning my own next meal. So this is Catherine at Taking Tea with Catherine. Have a lovely tea, book, and dinner-filled day. Goodbye.